I put together an important video for you all off of the back of the stock market crash, plus JP Morgan now saying there is a 60% chance of a recession after these tariff hikes. Now, it's been a long day for a lot of folks, I know, but I got two different senators with two different lived experiences on to talk about how these tariffs will affect them in their states. And honestly, you'll find it comforting. First, I talk with Senator Jacky Rosen of Nevada. Then I bring on Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, and we have fun conversational chats that you guys will really enjoy. So all that I ask is that you drop a like, share this around, make sure you watch until the end, and let's check it out. I'm joined today by Senator Rosen. How you doing?
I am doing all right. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. Let's jump in by talking about the tariffs, the massacre that Trump has imposed on the market. First off, how do you respond to the argument that Trump's tariffs are supposed to protect American manufacturing? Because a lot of Trump supporters seem to be making that argument.
Well, the Trump tariffs, let's first of all call it what it is. It's not tariffs, they're a national sales tax, because what happens is he put tariffs on countries, he put tariffs on places that don't even have citizens, they only have penguins. Thank you very much. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And the Trump tariffs across the board raise the price on everything. It's not going to save manufacturing. It's going to raise up prices. Everybody goes to the grocery store. Everybody drives a car. People pay their electric bill, heating bill, whatever that is. Every price is going up. And all of it is just to give billionaires like Elon Musk a tax break. And I want to tell you, Elon Musk, he wants to be the first trillionaire. So he's going to do it on the backs of everyday Americans. And so targeted tariffs, okay, but this is chaos. You see the markets tumbling. Confidence is just crumbling, and it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
I always say targeted tariffs against China would be fine. There are even ways to do tariffs where you give a grace period to reshore manufacturing. That's not what's happening. And actually,
That's
right
correct.
now on Fox News, Judge Jeanine Pirro, they're doing like North Korea levels of spinning on Fox News right now. The scariest part is they're going to follow Trump off of the cliff. But Jeanine Pirro just said, I don't even care about my 401k. You know why? Because I trust this man. I trust this man. They are currently saying, we actually don't care how much money we have.
Yeah, I want to say those Fox News hosts, let's look. I'm sure you could probably pull about how much their salaries are. Of course she doesn't care. She's a multi-millionaire. Of course she doesn't care. And every one of those damn Fox News hosts, half of them who they're trying to put into the government with no qualifications, like our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who is hurting our military, leaking, and they'll come back at another time, putting attack plans on Signal, for crying out loud. God knows who the hell he invited to that conversation. Doesn't even know how to use the proper channels. They don't care. Trump himself says I couldn't care less. And this is why I'm here. And this is why I'm happy for you, because we need to use our voices. We can't let some spin room on Fox News dictate to us what's going on. We have to tell what's happening to real Americans, and I can talk about them. It's happening in my state and our small businesses and all around the country. These cuts that the Trump tariffs and the cuts that are going to happen, like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and to veterans, just to name a few.
So you think we shouldn't hire our top officials off of Fox News weekend shows?
I pretty much think we shouldn't hire our top officials off Fox News. That is absolutely correct. I think I'm going to stick with that one.
That's an okay stance to have. I guess I want to end this off by asking you about the Vote-A-Rama that takes place tonight. Can you fill me in, fill my audience in?
Yeah, so a Vote-A-Rama, what this means is that when they do this, it's called a budget resolution. What is the resolution? It actually kind of sets up the rules for them to pass what they call reconciliation, this budget where they will need no Democratic votes. They want to shove it down your throat without any votes, or want to pass it in the middle of the night. So what happens now is you've seen us talking on the floor for about 25 hours, not quite as long as Cory Booker made. Well, he made it all on his own. There's lots of us talking about the threats to our communities, to our neighbors, to our friends, like I said, our veterans, seniors, all of us. And then once that starts, we're going to have the ability to put amendments in. And what does that mean? It means we're going to put those Republicans on the record. They want to raise taxes on every damn person. They want to cut Social Security. They want to cut Medicare. So you're going to see us putting in amendments that force them to take a vote and show everybody who they are. So I want to tell your listeners, don't just listen to one news source. Don't listen to what they tell you. Listen to what they actually do. They're two different things, and be very aware and very scared. And I am grateful for you, my friend, because you know how to use your voice. That's what we have to do. This is why elections matter. We use our voice, we organize, we mobilize, and we don't take that light off of what we think is happening and who's hurting us and who's hurting everyone we care about.
I'm grateful for you as well, Senator Rosen. Thanks for coming on and pushing back against the Fox News absolute North Korean propaganda that we're seeing coming out of there. And go get those votes on the record. Have a great night, and we'll talk.
I will. Thank you. I'm glad to come back anytime.
I'm joined today by Senator Warner of Virginia. How you doing, sir?
Well, it's kind of a crappy day, but I'm glad to be with you, Adam.
We'll make it through. I just want to ask you some questions regarding messaging around these tariffs, because I feel like the onus falls on people like you and I. You work in Congress, I work in the media. We have to explain to people how Trump's tariffs are affecting them negatively. So first of all, can we debunk this idea that America is getting ripped off by every other country?
Listen, it is just not true. There are some countries, frankly, where it's been unbalanced, China in particular, but the vast majority of countries, there's been a relative balance, especially, like with the Europeans and so forth. And then like Trump going crazy about about Canada and Mexico. Bullshit on that is, remember in Trump term number 1, he renegotiated the deal with Canada and Mexico, and he's supposed to be the world's great deal doer. So we're living under his terms with those two countries. So this is just this kind of weird obsession he's had. Maybe the only thing he's been consistent on since the 1980s, that somehow if you can charge other countries for shipping their goods here, that's going to lead to more American manufacturing, and that's going to make money fall from the sky. But the unfortunate economics are, when you charge that, all that happens is most of those charges just get passed on to the consumer. Give you a great little fun historic fact. The last time there were massive tariffs like this, it was called the Smoot-Hawley tariffs. And yes, America had a slight trade surplus. The cost of that trade surplus with the rest of the world was America was in the worst depression it's ever been in. So this is, none of you guys are old enough to remember Ronald Reagan and voodoo economics, but this is voodoo economics 10 times over. And it's going to come back and bite the whole country. And whether young like you and you're at the beginning of your, building an investment portfolio, an retirement egg, or if you're older and you're watching your retirement savings disappear, beyond the fact of what it's going to do to jobs.
It's equally as scary no matter how old you are, especially watching Trump push away these alliances. And it seems like he doesn't understand what a trade deficit is. Am I right in thinking that? The dude he thinks that it's inherently bad and doesn't understand what it is.
He does not understand. And like did you guys see, you got to put out for your audience, this very scientific looking formula that came from like a physics class. It was total bullshit. That basically, as even opposed to the tariff rates, simply had whether we bought more stuff or they bought more stuff from us. So they just used as the formula, whether there was a trade imbalance. It had nothing to do with tariffs. So it kind of went completely counter to his whole theory of the case, and everybody's called it out. But the one thing, again, you got to give him credit for, having any connection to the truth and facts has not been a compelling item for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We're seeing the immediate uncertainty surrounding this tank the stock market. It seems like business owners are really uncertain. Do you think the public understands that these tariffs work as hidden taxes on American consumers? How are you going to message around this?
Well, I don't know, Adam. Again, we have kind of stunk at messaging, we first to admit, but some of this is not going to take messaging. It's going to take what people start paying. If you shop at Walmart, and price of clothing goes up 20% has been on average. This guy was supposed to come in and lower grocery prices. The amount of increase in food prices. And I think about how do you piss off Canada so much? It will be ages before Canadians ever buy American whiskey again. I had a whiskey maker from Richmond up the other day, and they've taken all of their whiskey off the shelves of the province in Alberta. And we have so pissed off the Canadians that even when the tariffs come down, I don't think they're going to buy American goods the same way they used to.
Yeah, and I don't blame them whatsoever.
I don't either.
I don't blame them. We're an unreliable partner. And, you know, something I always argue, I talk to a lot of Trump supporters. I used to go to his rallies and debate his supporters about these things, about Ukraine and about tariffs. And I'm always like, it was intense. We met Mike Lindell a few times too, and he would always like start screaming. He's a crazy dude. But I always say there's a way to use tariffs where you leave a grace period or a transition period to reshore manufacturing. But Trump's not doing that, right? He's doing this weird on and off, will I, won't I thing. And then it ended with Liberation Day. But I mean, only our 401ks have been liberated. I guess.
Yeah, you've been liberated from not having any 401ks. But that
for real,
you can't, like, here's the thing. And you mentioned earlier, like, you know, with our longtime allies, the relationships you build up economic wise, military cooperation. I was chair of the Intel Committee, and now I'm vice chair, intelligence sharing. That's all based on trust. Trump sees everything through the lens of a real estate deal. So I'm going to do business with you today. I'm going to screw you tomorrow. And then maybe I'm going to come back and do business with you again. That isn't how you work between countries that have been, frankly, friends and allies. And that's the way China operates on a purely customer basis. But we've actually had pretty damn good relationships with most countries, but that is being burned real time.
Yeah. And it's very, very harmful. I guess my last question would be, why do you think Trump tariffed every country except North Korea and Russia?
That's a great question. You know, he's got a bromance, it seems like, with these guys that is just beyond bizarre. But again, I think the worm is going to turn. I do think and I appreciate this chance to try to explain to your viewers why this is going to hit. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure it's going to be some brilliant messaging term. It's going to be people feeling it in their retirement account. It's going to feel it in people paying higher prices. And it's going to be in a lot of loss of jobs. And I think that will really start to get, hit people literally over the next 30 days.
That's the unfortunate reality. But well, thank you so much for joining me, Senator. I love these conversational chats. The audience will really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks so much, man.